AI is now looked at more in terms of targeted approach.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we will help you understand all the closing action of the stock markets in today's trading action, what all has really passed by, and when you talk about the trade in terms of the benchmark indices, the sectors in focus and the stocks that have been buzzing right from the word go today. Also, what should be your investment strategy and how should you be really approaching markets? Several of the earnings that are being reported, and also if there are any opportunities now with the bounce back that you're looking at in the Adani Group of stocks. All of that will be up in our discussion with our expert today. But first up, a quick check of how the markets are trading at this point. 116 points down for the Sensex, 60,390 as the current level. 17,745 for the Nifty as well. It's just about down 20 odd points. So the markets have largely flattened out and have recovered from the lowest point of the day. You can actually see a sharp recovery coming in on the Nifty bank front, which has really pulled up the markets from its lowest point. And apart from that, some gains coming in on the pharma pack as well. Financial services up in the green, private banks doing well. Realty space has been doing well, defying the trend overall right from the word go. That has picked up pace as well, 0.8% of an uptick for that one. But there are some stocks and sectors that still remain under pressure, including stocks from the FMCG basket, IT stocks and the metals pack that are still weak in trade, and the auto space that has been dragging the most, in fact 0.8% down in trade as well. The market breadth looks divided at this point, with 26 declines to 24 advances as far as the Nifty 50 stocks are concerned. In terms of the broader markets, also lackluster performance for that one, with more declines coming in on the small cap pack, 0.7% of a cut. Mid caps are absolutely flat right now, and so when you talk about the India VIX, that's at 13.9, down about 4.8 odd percent as well. In terms of the top losers and the gainers today, let's look at the top losers first. Tata Steel under pressure after those earnings and the big negative surprise on the losses front. Hindalco also continues to trade weak with 4.2% of a cut, of course, after that novelist results have come out and disappointed the street estimates. Now ITC is under pressure, 2.6% of a cut can be seen for this one. Sun Pharma, the other major, that's down by 1.5%, and Maruti Suzuki, that's slipping away at 1.4% odd. But what's really performing today? Well, it's the Adani Group stocks that have bounced back after these 7-8 days of continuous decline. Adani Enterprises, in fact, right now trading with about 15% odd kind of gains, but we did see that upper circuit really coming about. And apart from that, we also saw Adani Ports inching up higher today, still up about 1.3%, but in the morning trade it was really up about 9% odd as well, and about 50% up in the last 3 odd trading session. Kotak Mahindra Bank, IndusInd Bank from the banks really supporting this kind of a sharp recovery that you've seen in the markets. Time now to welcome our guest for the day. Abhishek Basumallick joins in, founder of Intelsense Capital. Welcome, Abhishek, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Well, first up, I want to take your comment on the bounce back that we've seen in the Adani Group of stocks. What do you make of this bounce back? What is this on account of? And do we really expect this rally to sustain, or is this just like a bounce and should not be taken too seriously?
So, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. I think it's very difficult to say why it has bounced back. I think sentimentally it fell a lot because of the events, and now it's more of a sort of counter rally that is happening. Part of it is on account of the fact that people have understood probably that there's no immediate concern in terms of whether it's repaying of debt, or there's no immediate concern as such. So that's something which is sort of giving a relief. And then paying back and unpledging of the shares that happened yesterday, that
Sure.
again is a sentiment booster. So these are things which have happened, I think, which is helping the stocks. But it's more of you know with the pendulum swings happening on a very shorter period. So it falls a lot, then it moves up, and these kinds of things will happen, and it probably will keep happening. You can't
Right.
for sure say that the bottom has been made, but probably we are going to see more volatility in all of
So
these
would you
names.
would you really say that it will be too early to really catch this bounce and go all in and buy this bounce and in anticipation of recovery coming away?
So again, I mean, it depends on what kind of an investor slash trader you are. If you are a trader, you can play these very short term bounces. If you're an investor, you are probably better off staying on the sidelines, seeing how things play out. Because see, one of the main factors for the entire set of companies has been growth, right? It has been growing fairly well, because end of the day, most of these businesses are infrastructure businesses which are very low margin,
Yeah.
low ROE kind of businesses. And even with the fall, the valuations are still extremely steep. For they're probably even today more than 4 or 5 times the comparable peers. So you need to be very careful when you're looking at it from an investment perspective.
Sure, sure. Understood that. Also, Abhishek, a lot of results have started to come from the Adani Group of stocks. Yesterday, we saw that Adani Transmission reported net numbers of consolidated Q3, where the PAT was up 73% at 478 crores. The revenue was up 15.8% at 3,037 crores. The EBITDA was also up by about 29% at 1,708 crores. And just about an hour ago or so, we did see Adani Ports also really come about with its earning, although here there has been a fall of 16% odd on the consolidated net profit front at 1315 odd crore rupees. The revenues have come in and higher, 17.5% is the jump that we've seen for that one. But how do you read these results? On the one hand, Adani Transmission, and on the other hand, Adani Ports. And does any of it after the earnings, make way for any, buying action after the earnings?
No, I think again, both the numbers have been reasonably good. I would not say that transmission numbers were good. Even ports, I would not say that they were bad numbers, even though it's slightly off color. But yeah, they are okay. But the problem was never the numbers. The problem was always with the valuations,
Yeah.
right? And even today, the valuations, seem steep. Adani Ports is probably the only one where valuations are, sort of in line with what their peers are. But I would still, be a little bit more circumspect, because you want to be a little bit more clear in terms of what is going to happen in terms of the overall group structure, their debt structure, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. No, Abhishek, also wanted to take your view. Three more earnings is what we are awaiting from the Adani basket today. One is Adani Green that will be reporting its earnings. Also, we have Ambuja Cements that will be coming out with its earnings. Now, MK Global preview says that the net profit is seen around 287 odd crore rupees right here. The EBITDA is seen at 515 crores odd, and the margins at 13.4% for this one. Apart from this, we are also looking at NDTV to be reporting its earnings as well. Anything from this basket where you have high expectations of good earnings coming?
Not high expectations, but I think Ambuja should report good numbers. Uh, Green, Adani Green, again, too much of debt, or too high valuations. So not really looking at from an investment perspective. Ambuja looks to be something where I'll be more inclined to see how the results come through.
Okay, okay, okay. We'll keep an eye out on all these earnings as well and take your views, once the earnings also come out as well. But for now, you're looking at Ambuja Cement as a potential good earnings really coming about in Q3. But, whole host of other earnings are also taking a lot of, limelight today, especially when we talk about the metals pack and some of the big names here, Tata Steel, for example, Hindalco, for example. They have seen a sharp beating today after the earnings, especially on the surprise that they've given on the net loss front on the Tata Steel front. Also, weak earnings coming in from Novelis that has hit the sentiment on Hindalco. How are you looking at these top metal names? And after the earnings, what would you suggest the investors to do?
Yeah, so I think Tata Steel was actually pretty bad set of numbers yesterday, and same, I mean, for Hindalco also. I think aluminum prices and probably steel prices also have cooled off a little bit. So again, I would probably stay a little bit away. I in general, stay away from purely playing these metal names. The better way to play, the steel cycle or aluminium is through the ancillaries, if I may call them. So suppliers to steel companies and so on and so forth. So though they are better, ways to play the metal theme.
Okay, one more stock I want to take your view, and that is Paytm. After the earnings, no, it has turned EBITDA positive ahead of its own expectations as well. How are you reading through the numbers here, and does it show any kind of a promise after the well destruction that we've seen for Paytm and for investors in 2022? Does this early indication of things coming back on track give you the enough promise that this stock is something that one can now look at as a promising buy for the long term?
We'll have to, closely watch out because this is probably the first time that they are turning around the profit. We'll have to see if this is sustained. Because for me, honestly speaking, I don't really understand, uh, what Paytm is really trying to do. I mean, they are in too many things, not a market leader in any one of the verticals, practically, where they make money, right? I mean, they may really be doing well in the UPI space, but they're not making money in UPI. And they're not really leading anything in terms of whether it's selling or whether it's loans or whatever else they are doing. So to me, I think the strategy seems a little bit muddled, and so I would want to have a lot more clarity. I mean, just because it's a new age company and it's there and it's fallen a lot, I don't want to sort of jump in and buy.
Okay, okay, understood that as well. A whole host of other numbers have also come about, so I'm going to be giving you some numbers and names right there. You can pick your choice as to tell me if that is something that you've been tracking and you're positive about, or that's something that you would want investors to now keep an eye out on. Century Plyboards in Q3, the profit has slipped 12.5% year on year at 82.2 crore rupees. That's one. The other one that I noticed today was Aditya Birla Fashion Q3. The net profit here declined 91.7% at 15.8 crore rupees, and that's against 189 crores that were reported last year as well. Apart from this, Motherson Sumi, the other one that I kept an eye out on. Here, Q3 net profit was down 30% at 106 crores, at 151 crore rupees on a year-on-year basis, and the stock prices also slid after the earnings right there. So, out of these three, are you tracking any of them? Motherson Sumi, Aditya Birla Fashion, Century Plyboards?
Yeah, I think Century is actually a good play overall. From a housing real estate ancillary kind of play. The only challenge is, I think, MDF, now there's a lot of capacity that has come on stream across the industry, and that's probably creating some amount of margin pressure, pricing pressure. Other than that, I think longer term, Century seems like a pretty decent play to keep your eye out for.
Okay, understood that as well. Where exactly, Abhishek, you are finding value in this current market setup? Are there any pockets that you're looking at in terms of a potential buy? We are also looking at the RBI's monetary policy to be coming out tomorrow. So, is bank something that you're looking at positively? I think Fed chair also speaks tonight, so that has also created some kind of an anticipation globally as well. There is a kind of a pause that you're looking at in the global markets too. Is banks going to be something, or is there any other pocket that you're looking at currently?
So simple. If you have a 1 year view, I think the best places right now are banking, uh, select PSUs, especially in banking, infrastructure, uh, and engineering, that space, and capital goods and engineering, railways. This is the pocket that I think where uh, if you are concentrating on, and also IT. IT, I think, has sort of bottomed out, and some of it is looking pretty interesting. So these are the spaces where, if we focus for the next 8 months to a year, I think
Yeah.
that's where the good reasonable gains could be made from there.
Right. But one last comment from you on the overall markets. Right now we're seeing the markets down about 200 points or so, 44 points of a decline for the Nifty. There is a recovery from the day's low, and that's despite the Adani Group really showing a little bounce back. What are the fresh triggers that the markets will be looking at to really break out of this lackluster zone that we've been looking at the markets trading in from the beginning of 2023 so far? With the budget behind us now, of course, the RBI policy, which is largely unexpected, we're expecting a 25 basis points hike. If that
Correct.
comes about, that's going to be a non-event again for the markets. They may have already priced in. Then what are the fresh triggers that the markets may be looking at for a fresh leg of some momentum on the upside?
So honestly speaking, I think we will all come to know about the trigger when it happens. Before that, it's going to go on like this for some time, in my opinion. I think last time we were discussing, I shared the same view. I mean, this kind of a move or consolidation can go on sometimes for months, sometimes for years. My sense is next 2 3 months we will probably spend in this range, and that can also extend to the first half of the year. uh, Both the broader markets, Nifty 500 even could be in that zone, uh, going up for 2 3 days, then coming down for 2 3 days, and that kind of continuing for the next few months. And how and when we will come out of this is anybody's guess. My guess would be that once the consolidation is done and the earnings is sort of digested by the markets, the next leg of earnings growth will trigger off. Plus, also maybe some liquidity inflows, uh, from FIIs, FPIs, that is going to drive up the markets in the next leg.
Sure, noted that. Well, thank you so much, Abhishek, for being with us on this show and sharing with us all those insights on several pockets that we have discussed on the overall markets, also helping our viewers really understand what is the way, the best way to approach the markets as we speak right now, and right ahead of the big RBI's monetary policy review meeting as well, that will tell us as to which is the way in which the RBI is moving forward in terms of the rates as well. With that, we'll come to an end of this show, but we'll quickly look at how the markets are going to be closing today. We're just about 10-12 minutes away from the closing action, about 219 points lower for the Sensex. The Nifty also down about 0.27% in trade, 17,717, about 50 odd points lower in trade. With that, we wrap up. Many thanks for tuning in, but do stay tuned on to Business Today TV to catch all the updates from the world of stock markets and business news as well. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel and stick with us via our other social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. Many thanks.
Hello and welcome to the India Today Business